What?
There we go. We are live now. Basically, this is like a mini. We've been talking about 5 or 10 minutes pre-show, but you can get 5 minute pre-show of us. And Kieran was just about to explain to us why he is happy.
Yes. Did you know from basically Sky Sports that the football season has started again
Oh, is
this
this
week?
this whole Celtic? Is this the whole Celtic
No, I'm not
League?
talking about the Celtic thing. The Celtic thing's far too complex for me to go
Just,
into in the space of
well,
5 minutes.
just one thing quickly, because they've heard the reports. Supposedly, the other team wants to do another match, and basically the winner gets to go into the Champions League. Are you yay or nay against it?
Very much, nay.
Well, yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if they, if they,
Why should Celtic give up their spot in the Champions League for a team that broke the rules?
exactly. Well, yeah. Here's my thing. They broke the rules. You get into by default. Why would you want to play another match?
Well, the thing is that, and I will admit this as a Celtic fan, we don't deserve to be there.
As in because what?
As in, we got dubbed 6-1 on aggregate. We were losing 6-1 on aggregate before the player came on. He didn't play the entire game. He made no impact on the game. The only reason that we're through is because the UEFA ruling and the rules say that if you bring on a player who's illegible, it's an
So,
automatic 3-0 defeat for the team that brings them on. Unless
so,
unless the result doesn't favour you already, in which
so,
case the point stands.
so why was he illegible? Was it just they signed him
Last
and
season in
he
the
hadn't
Euro,
gone through, or was it
right.
just
What happened was last season in the Europa League, this player got sent off for violent conduct.
right?
In European competition, violent conduct is an automatic 3-match ban.
I take it carries over if you have one match
It
from
carries
last
over into the next season if you
Right.
make or the next game you play in that competition. So
Right,
say if he doesn't make it to the Champions League
right.
for
So
two
it's,
seasons,
it's,
for
it's,
two
it's,
for the next season, if you get into it the next season, that ban still carries over.
so basically, whatever European match it is, it just carries over to that next
Yes.
European match. Right, right.
What Legistar Walsall thought was that he would be banned regardless of if he was registered to play or not. Because what happens in European competition is for the first few rounds of qualifying, you have to register a certain team. You
Yeah.
get 25. You get 25 players. You register those 25 players for the team, and those are your 25 players that you can pick. So if you sign somebody between the two legs, they cannot play.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it keeps the game fair essentially.
Yeah. What Walsall didn't do was register this player, which means he didn't serve 2 matches of his ban because he wasn't registered.
So he's in breach of two things. Then he's in breach of basically being under violent conduct, and also in breach of not actually
No,
being.
he's been punished for the sending off. There's nothing you can do about that. What Walsall thought was that he had served his 3 matches, when in reality he's only served the 1. It's not Celtic's fault. It's to do with whoever's in the logistics department of Walsall who was like, hang on, we can't register this player, he's banned.
Right.
Who says he's banned? It's like, because we didn't register him for the last game because we thought that he was going to be banned for those 2 games anyway.
So I take it by them basically winning, or on the point of them winning 6-1 in aggregate, them basically saying, can we have a rematch, is them basically sticking their fingers up by going, look, we beat you 6-1 last time, we can do it again?
They didn't beat us 6-1 in the last game. They beat us 6-1 over the 2 legs.
Well, but they're basically sticking
yeah,
things
they've beaten us in 2 games.
Yeah.
But what's happened is that because of the defeat, there's an automatic 3-0 loss, which
Right.
puts Celtic through 4-3 on aggregate. Or sorry,
Right.
4-4 on aggregate through the away goals rule.
Oh, and that whole malarkey,
Yeah,
away
that whole
goals.
malarkey that I can't exactly explain.
The away goals are somehow equal or better than getting a goal at home. So if you're 2-1 away, but you score an away
No,
goal,
if the away goals of a team is better than the one. The Celtic scenario is easier to explain because it's actually more recent. Celtic lost 3-1 in Poland.
Right.
By default, to get through, because they scored 1 goal away If they win 3-0, it's a better result because you didn't concede.
Yeah.
So by winning 3-0 at home, we've gone through because we scored a goal, basically.
By the way, I want to bring this up because obviously I haven't had the chance to bring this up since this has happened. Bernie Ecclestone is one of the most amazing geniuses in the world ever. Don't. You know, I think the guy is obviously, you know, there are some real problems with the guy, but he's in a court case in Germany, which is about a bribe from a 2005-2006 bribe that he gave to a German bank, I believe it is, or German and Swiss bank. And basically, at the time, they accepted it and they were happy with it. He then gets called to this trial, and basically the whole point is it's a bribery trial. And because it's a bribery trial, it goes through criminal courts. And because it's a criminal court trial, in theory, they can still put him on trial because it's still a criminal case. It's not just paying a bribe. So what does Bernie Ecclestone do the past week? He publicly comes out and goes, look, I'll give you £60 million if you make the trial go away. They've accepted the deal. So they've essentially brought a...
It's a bribe. It's a bribe for a bribe.
He's basically publicly come out and he's actually brought a bribe. He's basically come out and with a bribe.
He's basically bribed people to get rid of a bribe.
But he's done it publicly. It's genius. And
He's an
hello,
idiot.
and hello, Justin.
Hello. What's going on, guys?
Not too much.
Hello, Justin.
We just started the show about 5 minutes ago because Kieran was explaining to me this whole Celtic soccer thing that happened a couple of days ago.
No, I wasn't explaining that. You were the one who brought that up. I was going to talk about something else.
Well, you can talk about something else now then.
Well, something else is that for the first time in a year, Rangers have lost a competitive game in the league. And I'm laughing because of the fact that I've said it for 2 years. Rangers have been playing a bunch of part-timers. It's essentially the best I can describe it is a NBA team playing against a college team for 2 seasons, or playing college teams for 2 seasons. That's what it was.
But for the record, Justin, Kieran obviously lives in Scotland and he's a Celtic fan. Celtic and Rangers are like the big, massive rivalry there, and if you're a Celtic fan, you basically want to kill Rangers fans, essentially.
I don't want to kill Rangers fans at all. I'm not that violent.
What was that, sorry?
What sport are we talking about?
Soccer.
Soccer.
Football? Soccer?
Yes.
Football, soccer. Yeah, see, he's talking about soccer, and when you came in, I was talking about Bernie Ecclestone from Formula One. So,
man, this podcast is way too European for me, man. I am way too red bone barbecue.
Well, let's American it up with some good old violence in wrestling.
saying that.
We can meet in the squared circle. The F1 fans, the soccer fans, the college football fans. There's one place where we can all meet and be on equal footing, and that
Triple
is
threat. Not a good idea, actually, Justin.
No. I mean, if you're going to do it properly, might as well do Elimination Chamber. Let's put wrestling fans in there, Formula One fans in there, soccer fans in there, American football fans in there, rugby fans in there, and then, I don't know, put something in there for shits and giggles. Put in there bowls fans, tennis fans, I don't know. Put tennis fans in there.
I'd say cricket. I want to see the cricket fans. Yeah.
I've got to send you a video. It's we have cricket obviously our cricket fans in the UK are called the Barmy Army because obviously wherever the England cricket team goes, they go. And when I can't remember which team it was they were playing. I think it was Australia. And during one of the Ashes tests, they were actually singing "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" whilst they were playing cricket. And they've actually got a guy who the entire area that was singing it goes silent, and the guy sings nothing but the high notes.
I win my way, 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 I win my way.
Now that is British fandom for you.
Indeed.
All right. So, hey
business.
Guys, to business. Obviously, we are here to talk SummerSlam and wrestling because I think I tweeted this to Justin a couple of days ago. Well, I said a couple of months ago. We had Justin on WrestleMania, so why don't we have him on for the big 4 shows of the year? WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Royal Rumble, so we can kind of block everything together and, sort of talk about wrestling as a whole. So, everything was fine, and we get everything ready for SummerSlam.
With the exception of me missing it.
But that was because you were at a wrestling show.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you could kind of call that as a half and half. You weren't able to talk about wrestling because you were at a wrestling show, so you were wrestling involved.
True.
But I said Justin will come on to SummerSlam, and he was cool with it. We sorted out the time, and then we realised something. Well, not realised, but whenever I seem to get Justin onto a show for wrestling-related things, just shit seems to explode. When I used to be part of Side's podcast, we had Justin on, and I think, was it John Cena got into a car crash like the following day that you were on air? We had the WrestleMania show, which obviously was the WrestleMania Network thing, and I think we were talking about Ultimate Warrior, and obviously we were all big Ultimate Warrior guys, and obviously he died 2 days later, and now we've got Justin on for SummerSlam, and Del Rio gets released, Ricardo Rodriguez gets released, and it's all hell, fire, and brimstone WWE right now because you can't do anything without being released.
Well,
Yeah.
Del Rio got released for slapping someone in the face, apparently.
Well, we don't know that. Apparently, it's a racist remark, and he came back.
Well, did slap him. Like by count of the rumors, none of the rumors dispute the fact that he slapped the dude. There is the addendum that possibly the guy made a comment about Del Rio being Mexican and therefore having issues, and then Del Rio came to confront him about it. The guy refused to apologize, and then he got slapped for it. It seems whatever he did, the rumors prior were that the powers that be were afraid to let him go, that he wanted to let his contract expire so he could go back to Mexico. And
So basically, he took it one step further than Punk. Instead of just walking out, he decided to get himself fired.
well, I mean, but here's what's weird about it, right? At some point, the idea of the WWE wanting to keep him became the WWE retweeting a kind of out of character.
Yes, I saw this.
Want to blame at Del Rio, then blame him for his own actions, which like Triple H retweeted as the. So, whatever happened, and who knows what story was true beforehand and what is true in this instance, but people at the WWE are really pissed off at Alberto Del Rio to the point where they want to make it very clear that this isn't just a wrestler getting fired, which happens all the time. You know, people get suspended and fired constantly.
I think this is honestly the straw that broke the camel's back because I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, Justin. I've told this here many times because this is one of the funniest stories I've heard. Do you remember back in the WrestleMania show we had Martin on there, and Martin used to do Dropkick Radio, and in 2008 there was a wrestler called Evan Bourne who had broken his leg or just broken his foot, I think, just before the end of the year.
Broke his foot.
He broke his foot just before the end of the year, and this was also the time where Macho Man was still apparently at loggerheads with WWE, and there was all this like animosity still, and everyone was like, "Oh, you know, it's never going to happen." And it was at the point of the Royal Rumble, and Martin done a little test to wrestling websites. He basically, I think he emailed 5 wrestling websites and basically said that he was at that Royal Rumble event. Obviously, he wasn't. He's here in the UK, but he was at the Royal Rumble event, and he said that he had seen backstage Evan Bourne and Macho Man Randy Savage, and they were in their wrestling gear, and they had all been confirmed that they were going to be in the Royal Rumble. And this was like 5 of the bigger wrestling news sites, like Lords of Pain, WrestleZone, and a couple of others, and all that as well. He said within about 5 or 10 minutes, about 3 of them had actually put on their websites that it was confirmed by an anonymous source that this had happened, and then within about an hour, about 10 of the wrestling websites had actually said that this was a confirmed source because we read it from a different website. So as much as I want to believe what the websites say, I think back to that story and think, anything they say, yeah, it could be true, but I'm sitting there going, I think it's a straw that broke the camel's back because there's always apparently been these kind of like things with Del Rio that people don't like him or the way he's actually backstage or whatever it is if you believe these stories. So I think this was a straw that broke the camel's back.
He was the one who continued to beat up the original Sin Cara in every single match they were in.
But yeah, that's what I think. It's a straw that broke the camel's back. I think this was the point where they said, look, we've finally got something on him. Let's just release him, and then if we put it in a way that makes it that Del Rio was the instigator, and the blood is off our hands.
Again, it's nobody is saying, in the kindest rendition for Del Rio, nobody is saying that he did not slap him. They're justifications for slapping this guy by saying that he's an asshole. And that may very well might be the case. And apparently there's been a rush of a bunch of other people saying, well, Shawn Michaels kicked the ass of an employee at some point and nobody gave a crap.
I can do the ultimate one here. Steve Austin beat the shit out of his wife, and they had that, and I think it was Paul said this, and they actually said that apparently Steve actually went up to Vince's office. They called him to Vince's office, and apparently Vince's words were, "Steve, you can't do that." So, really?
Listen, if you want to be cynical about it, you say that if Del Rio's contract ends, then the next day he can walk to TNA or to Mexico and be a big thing. And apparently that AAA promotion wants to continue to expand into America, and WWE doesn't want to give them a top main event star, the next night after he leaves their television. And this is the way that...
Wait, I think I've heard this somewhere before.
Well, what do you mean? What, Star going to TNA or?
No, I mean a star walking out of WWE and then the next night showing up in WCW.
Oh, very shady.
Well, I mean, but I guess the thing is, for them, if he is released, there's an automatic 90-day non-compete clause, so they have 3 months, cool-off period for Alberto Del Rio.
That
not necessarily true.
That non-compete clause is actually really technical, because I've read about this, and you're not allowed to be on TV, but you are allowed to wrestle on shows. But as long then it's all weird. You can't make certain amounts of money, but you can't use the name or the likeness. It gets really weird. Yeah. I think as long as you're not on TV, I think it's cool though, because I think they've done the whole thing with Daniel Bryan.
The point seems that it doesn't matter for iPay-per-view either. Because
so
guess who showed up? Guess who was booked for Evolve and Dragon Gate?
We are only minutes away from Rio de Alberto showing up in the Impact Zone.
It'll be Alberto Del Reno.
Yeah.
Well, for a wee bit of news, Drew McIntyre is now the new Evolve champion.
Woo!
He beat Chris Hero on Friday night.
Awesome. Now, let's get there, because I've told this to Kieran, obviously, and I've listened to, obviously, hello, Diamond Club here, so obviously I listen to Night Attack, I listen to the Jury Cast, I listen to basically anything Diamond Club has to offer and anything you guys have to offer, because it's all normally fucking hilarious. One thing, by the way, I've just thought of an idea for your Egg Saga. Why don't you relate it to DC and call it I Want It Hard as Diamonds?
That's pretty good. Diamond Hard, maybe. Basically, this is my new running bit. I have hilarious running bits on my show, and one of them is the fact that I can't order eggs right like a real human. So I had people come up with names for the way I like my eggs, so I can tell them to random confused waitresses. And so far, it's been pretty good. A Broken Busted worked pretty well. Eggs Tempe worked pretty well. We're gonna go Concrete. The next listen, that's the kind of hilarious outside-the-box thinking that you can expect from the Jury Cast.
And honestly, I mean, you're going to get this from me, but seriously, listen to the Jury Cast, watch it on YouTube, just find a way to watch it, because it is pretty fucking hilarious.
Well, thank you. But let's get to SummerSlam. The biggest fight of the summer, they're calling it.
Indeed, but just the one thing quickly, because I know you said it on Night Attack, but just so anybody that hasn't heard it, Justin went to an NXT event with Brett Ramsville a couple of weeks ago. He spoke about it on Night Attack, and obviously you can go wrestling nerd here now if you want, because obviously you can just sort of spew whatever you want to say. But what did you think of the event then?
Oh, it was great. It's really amazing to see. It's amazing to take a look at basically your average shitty wrestling show in the in the random public events hall in Daytona Beach, Florida, but done in the way that WWE does live stuff. I mean, they always do stuff first class. The lighting looks good. It's amazing what just that extra $10,000 worth of equipment can make this like half of a basketball gym kind of look like. But I had a great time. You know, it was so fun. I love all the talent in NXT, and you know, I really think that they've built you know, they've done something, and they seem to be doing something that has eluded major wrestling promotions for about 20 years now, which is the idea of making another brand inside of their brand. It's like as soon as all the territories were gone, and you basically just had these indie promotions that were the only other minor leagues essentially to each promotion. You know, WCW wanted that to be the NWO, which was a dumb idea. You know, the WWE's tried it with the brand split with ECW, with the ECW reboot. They wanted to have another brand inside of what they have, and I think they've kind of successfully done it with NXT. It's its own product. It has an interaction with the main roster. The shows are fun. They're really well written. If you haven't seen the last week's episode, was great. It was like top to bottom, super satisfying, story, character-driven matches with a really high work rate, and you know, actual finishes to matches. People getting pinned, and you know, not run-ins and schmazes, and you know, that's good, and you have to kind of pull that out when you do a 3-hour show compared to a 1-hour one. But it was great, and live it was fantastic too.
I remember, I mean, I haven't said much to Kieran, because obviously I want him to listen to Night Attack, and obviously specifically to that episode, because some of the stuff you were bringing up was brilliant. And I think you said there was your favourite guy over the night was a guy that came out with a sign that said "Stop freaking fracking."
Yes, which he had that sign on the most recent episode of NXT, which made me very, very happy. No, CJ Parker, the rare Earth conservationist heel.
I love CJ Parker as a heel, but I just want him to go away.
Oh my God, I love it. And he was live. He was so great with the crowd. He was a lot more active, kind of yelling at the audience. I think what they need to do though with his character is they got to make him a little bit more of a hypocrite. They got to turn up the hypocrite a little bit on him. Like, you know, maybe show him, like, I love JBL. One of my favorite parts of the JBL character was to have this big Dallas opening theme, and him to ride up in the car with the horns on it, from New York City.
From New York.
That's the best. It's like immediately you just know he is such a.
So would you say, to make CJ Parker that much better, he should turn up to NXT in like a 4x4 or something like that?
Yes. No, he should. There should just be like the shot of him rolling up in the big, you know, the gas guzzling super truck, and then have him explain that, you know, he's bought carbon credits, and you know what, you just don't understand that, you know, sometimes to spread the message you just need to have a large vehicle like this.
Hang on, I'm gonna steal that idea. Hang on.
and it's just like, there's just images of him smoking or something, and him like drinking and going like, yeah, I like yes, this may be destroying the earth, but you know, I've got to. If you can't beat them, sometimes you got to join them. So I'm only doing it for experimental reasons. Just
make him a hypocrite. Make everybody in the audience understand that he is a holier than thou person who doesn't practice what he preaches. I love his gimmick. I would love it if they kind of gave everybody just that little bit more to kind of turn on him.
I love the. I mean, you should want to put my arms in the air. I mean, I'm a huge fan of JBL. I mean, his run as JBL, the blowhard New York businessman, is one of the greatest runs as a champion I have seen in not just SmackDown, in the last 15 years. He was so revered as a heel. There will be points of he done the whole Great American Award, and I remember his championship run vividly because I think it's some of the most amazing TV there is. He won his championship, and he was doing the whole thing of, like, I think it was the same year as the presidential elections was Bush in '04, and he would be doing like almost like presidential speeches as to like why he should, you know, why he is the king of SmackDown. And there'd be bits of like he would shake a baby's hand, then as soon as he shook that baby's hand or kissed that baby, he would get out a bottle of hand sanitizer and in front of the baby, like, be washing his hands with hand sanitizer and then just walk away.
Yeah, no, it was. I love those little heel moments just to get over as an asshole for the audience. It's so fun, and I think C.J. Parker is such a great heel. I can understand where it's certainly annoying, but I did another podcast, the Fanny Pack Wrestling podcast, which everybody should go listen to. It's so much fun with PD Rave and DJM, but they do reviews of indie promotions with people who have, in general, never seen wrestling before. And so we did a PWG event, a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla event from 2011.
Ooh, very nice. Very nice.
And it was so amazing to look at that in comparison to like Chikara or NXT and where, NXT, Chikara obviously gets very bizarre with their storylining, but NXT is such a great storyline driven promotion. Everybody has an identifiable element. You match them up in the ring and you kind of have an idea of what they're going to do and how it's going to work out, and you have rooting interest. PWG is amazing because the athletic talent is off the charts, but it's not exactly like everybody's kind of the same guy. Everybody's kind of the smarky internet wrestling community darling, and sometimes they're a little bit more of an asshole and sometimes they're a little bit more of a nice guy, but in general they're all kind of the same character. There's really not a lot of difference between El Generico in that pay-per-view and the Super Smash Brothers, or the two guys in the main event with Kevin Steen and I forget the other guy's name right now, but it's great. I love all those different takes on the art. It's so fun.
I love that. I think my favorite part of NXT is, I mean, you could watch. When they had FCW
I know what your favorite part of NXT is. The epic title run of Bo Dallas.
Ah, there we go.
Go away, go. I'd say you've probably seen it on Twitter. You've probably seen it on Twitter, Justin. My hatred of Bo Dallas, and this is not just that I hate him as a heel. I seriously cannot stand the guy. So when Archer's beat him in 5 seconds, I was basically doing laps around my house. I was so happy.
Maybe you just need to leave.
But yeah, no. My favorite part of NXT is what was the old one? OVW. You had OVW and FCW and obviously all these, and you could watch these matches or these things, but you would have to know where to find them, or you would have to get a black box copy, or FCW would be hard to get, or sometimes you get it from a website. With NXT, what I like about it is you get these stars like Kent has just signed, Prince Devitt has just signed. Obviously, they had Sara Del Rey who's training the women. I think was it El Generico who's helping them train as well. But I like the fact you can basically have this is
Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's helping them train. El Generico returned to Tijuana to take care of the orphan.
So
I haven't seen NXT in a couple of weeks, so I do apologise. But I like the fact that you can basically watch them in NXT, and you can basically go there's Paige, I like her, and then when she moves to Raw, or when this guy moves to Raw, that guy moves to SmackDown, whenever it is, it's kind of the transition where it's not just a case of Rusev coming out okay, Rusev is great and all, but unless you watch NXT, there's a reason behind Rusev coming to Raw, if you know what I mean, rather than it just being a guy coming to Raw and you're going, why should I like this guy, a la Ryback? Ryback was getting good in NXT, but you couldn't really watch NXT before the TV deal, so Ryback came to Raw a couple of years ago, and you're like, why should I care?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that Ryback appeared right after WrestleMania, didn't he? Which is when most people ended up debuting.
Well, the real funny thing about Ryback is he actually appeared 10 years prior to his, or about 8 years prior to him actually being Ryback. He was actually in the $1 Million Tough Enough from 2004.
Yeah, and then he popped up in
the Nexus.
In the first season of NXT as Skip Sheffield.
And he shattered his foot or something the month before SummerSlam. So, and that is a good way to tie it all together to talk about this year's SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Believe.
I will say, you know how obviously Brian's been complaining obviously about the traffic and all that as well. He's going to hate it this week.
Yeah, listen, it's I'm actually going to be down in Los Angeles that Saturday. I'm coming back this Sunday, but I think I'm going to do a live commentary of SummerSlam while it's going on, so everybody can watch along with me for the biggest fight of the summer. Only $9.99 on the WWE Network, by the way. I just wanted to let everybody know. I don't know if you picked up on that. It's only $9.99. I mean, for you guys, who knows? It might be, it'll be whatever, like £3, whatever the equivalent of $9.99 is.
They don't really work out conversion rates when it comes outside of America. So $9.99 will end up being
over here is still about £6.
Well, that's not too bad, but $9.99 will end up being about £9.99 over here in the UK, which equals out to about $13. Which it's still a great deal, mind you, but it's kind of, why are we overcharging for the same thing?
I mean, well, there actually is a fairly good reason why, for an American company, it does cost more to serve that kind of bandwidth internationally.
Although there is one thing I will say, we actually get the pay-per-views ridiculously cheaper than you do. You guys pay like $70 for an HD feed. We get an HD feed for 18 quid, which is like $40 cheaper or something.
But see, here's the thing though, not anymore, because now you have the WWE Network. Only $9.99.
Justin, are you being paid by WWE to plug the network?
I'm just saying, it's a great deal. $9.99. That's all. Every pay-per-view in history. Ah, what a bargain.
I'm just waiting for like watching episodes of Night Attack or something. You just see like in the two split screens, Brian's talking about something. You just see Justin with a piece of paper with like just holding it up to screen with like $9.99 WWE Network, and then just slowly bringing it back down. Like,
I'm actually, to be fair, if the network goes away or WWE kind of fundamentally changes and makes an about face on this business model, it will probably be the end of my fandom. I mean, like the entire resurgence of my interest in wrestling has been built around the fact that the WWE Network exists, and I like paying for it, and I like paying $9.99 for it. Like, if it goes away, like, I will probably go away just because I'm not gonna spend that. I never spend that much money on pay-per-views. I was never really that much into it to get that kind of scratch together. So, but this it's amazing. I love it. I love it, Maggle. I love it when he does that.
and this is where we immediately see Justin replace the SpaceX hat with the Texan cowboy hat, and he starts wearing the suit, and I can see it. But let's get into SummerSlam then, because obviously, the biggest fight of the summer, and let's bring it up. Obviously, people are complaining, obviously, with, Cena wasn't there for, a couple of weeks on Raw. Bearing in mind, you've got to think about this. They've had to change their plans the last minute because of the whole Daniel Bryan incident. So I'm pretty sure Cena being booked on a movie set was probably planned months in advance. They just didn't realise that Cena was having to become the champion because of the whole Daniel Bryan thing. So,
and by the way, Daniel Bryan wasn't supposed to become champion because CM Punk was supposed to still be there, and Batista was supposed to carry the belt as a face, which was hilarious to think of.
And CM Punk wasn't supposed to be champion for that long until they realised, he's actually been champion for 250 days. Maybe we should go somewhere with this.
Although, by the way, how over, if let's say Batista had never done his Royal Rumble comeback, right? If he were to re-debut at SummerSlam, right? Mm-hmm. How over would post Guardians of the Galaxy Batista be as a face?
Especially if he comes out in the green and black paint.
Oh my God!
For the record, I'm going to sound like a complete douche here. I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy yet, and I know you two have. So I know about it, and I know everything about it, and whatever. So I can,
I curse you. Don't see that damn movie.
Yeah. I will eventually.
You are only hurting yourself and others by not seeing it.
I know. And Kieran,
he'd be tremendously over. So this is, but I'll tell you what. I mean, I don't need much more of a hype for this main event. Like, I think I'm pumped. I'm ready to see it.
The promos they had on Raw this past week, where they had like the 5-minute video package. I mean, everyone says this, but WWE are the best when it comes to making promo packages and video packages. They're editing style, the way they make stuff is just so amazing. And the whole thing with Cena and Lesnar and the whole fact, that Cena's, like, I carried this company for 12 years, I've always been here, and Lesnar's basically just come out and went, I'm doing this because I want the belt and I want the money. It's like, this is, I mean, there's no need for a referee in this match, right? Like, the only way this match is going to win, like, someone's going to die in this match, surely. Like, someone's going to get knocked the fuck out.
And we all know who it's going to be.
I don't know. I really don't know now. My head for months was like, Lesnar, give Lesnar the belt. He broke the streak. Everything was all Lesnar. I thought, he's broke the streak. Give it to Lesnar. Now I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm thinking, the fact they've built this up so well, they could easily do a series of matches of this, hold this till Hell in a Cell, Cena Lesnar, Hell in a Cell for the title. That's money right there.
Well, I was saying to the guys at training today, here's how you can have Lesnar come out strong without the title. He loses by DQ.
Or just like decapitate Cena or something, like just completely.
No, he basically beat Cena to a bloody pulp, and the referee's like, no more. You've gone too far. Cena walks out with the belt. Everybody's happy that Cena's gotten his ass kicked.
Well,
except for Lesnar, who's not won the title.
I mean, I would prefer. I don't know if you can not have the title change hands, or be defended on some level. Giving Lesnar the belt's very interesting because they've been very stingy with his dates. I guess he has 22 dates a year, and it doesn't matter whether or not he wrestles or shows up. He gets it's 22 dates. So that's what you have.
I believe the contract he had was something. I think when he signed the contract, supposedly, and again, this is coming out from all the news sites. My little rant I had earlier, so take it with a grain of salt. But I believe it was something along the lines of it was more dates than Goldberg was on, but it's less dates. It's less dates than Goldberg, but more than Undertaker at his current status. So I think it's about 22, and I think that's why last year they had him appear on 2 shows throughout the summer, and they blocked out 8 of them for WrestleMania periods. I think that's what they could be doing again. But then, like I said, obviously, if he's champion, well, if he's 22 dates, they're going to have to either A, sign him to another contract, or B, be so stingy with him being a champion, then it's going to be almost UFC level.
Well, that's what Cena... Didn't Cena say that in the promo on Raw? He said he left WWE to go to UFC to have a fight every few months. Now he's back in WWE and there's a fight every few months.
So... This, according to WrestlingInc.com, Brock Lesnar is scheduled for the post-SummerSlam Raw in Vegas and the September 15th Raw from Lafayette, Louisiana, which is the go-home show for Night of the
Champions. Yeah.
Love to see him walk out the champion. Obviously, I think that we are in a more infinite universe of possibilities when somebody other than the greatest champion in WWE history, who always seems to, get with that gritty, gutsy effort, come out on top, John Cena. When somebody else has the belt, there's just more interesting possibilities that are available to you from a storytelling perspective. And just imagine the heat on this, my friends. Let's just say Lesnar, victorious, middle of the ring, SummerSlam, Los Angeles, California, raises the belt, blackout. One solemn bell toll. And now all of a sudden you set up the rematch, Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, for the title.
As awesome as that would be, it's not going to happen. As awesome as that would be, it's not going to happen. I can't see that happening.
Well, but all right, but let's have a real quick, since we're going backwards into the card. Let's get into the fantasy booking realm of Undertaker. I mean, is Undertaker done? It doesn't seem like he is done, or else they would have said he's done.
I think. As subsequent WrestleManias have gone since 27, I want to say, when he had the thing with Triple H and they had the whole, he walked out, he was carried out on a gurney and whatever. They've apparently said it's harder and harder for Taker to come back and do a WrestleMania, not he wants to do it, but I think his body just isn't capable of doing it anymore. And then when you hear that he had this really severe concussion, he was put in hospital, and that Vince went with him to the hospital, and like for Vince to break protocol and leave WrestleMania to take a wrestler to the hospital is unheard of. So when you heard that Vince was taking him, you knew it was serious. So he's been released, and from all reports saying obviously he's in pretty bad shape, but they said this for 3 WrestleManias that he's in pretty bad shape, and then by a Royal Rumble it turns into he could just scrape through a match. I've been sitting here and thinking, everybody goes obviously Sting, Undertaker, WrestleMania for the streak, wouldn't it be great? I think the expectation would be harder, because then you'd focus more on the streak than the match. Now the streak is broken. If you want to do Sting and Taker, now the focus is on it's Sting and Taker, not it's Sting and Taker for the streak. So at this point, the only match they can do with Taker now, before he kicks the bucket in wrestling, is got to be Sting and Taker, and that's it.
That is the match that I want to see. I want to see that match.
I don't
care if it's bad. I don't care if it's shit.
I don't want to see. Here's the thing. I've said this before. If this match happened 15 years ago, I'd be all over it. I'd be all over it. I'd be slobbering like a dog. I don't want to see it now, because we've got a broken down Sting, we've got a broken down Undertaker in the middle of a WrestleMania ring. I don't want to see it, because it's going to be bad.
I would love to see Sting in a match with somebody who can carry the match. I'd love to see Sting in a match with a Daniel Bryan, a Dolph Ziggler, someone like that, someone with a tremendous work rate that's going to make him look like $1 million. And you look at that Undertaker Lesnar match was sloppy. It was not good. Right?
No, and if that concussion thing was true, and that he did get the concussion from like early on in the match, obviously it's not excusable, but I can understand why the match just went to pot, because obviously if a guy's completely flat out on his face, he's not going to know what to do.
I guess here's my point. Like, Lesnar did his best to make that match look as good as possible, right? And if for whatever reason. And even then, it didn't really look all that good, right? Because Lesnar, for as much of an athletic freak that he is, he's not somebody, like, he's not Shawn Michaels, right? I mean, like, he's not Ric Flair. He doesn't have that ability to just, make a broomstick look like a world beater.
Lesnar needs somebody who can do it on a daily basis. I mean, Triple H was a bit of a lucky shot. I mean, in theory, their WrestleMania match was a bit crappy. Their cage match was probably the best out of the 3 they did. But I think the biggest problem with that match with Undertaker is, and I hate to say it, it was the Undertaker. For a guy that does 1 match a year, of course, obviously you're going to be rusty as hell. But you're only going to be training hard in a ring for 3 or 4 months out of that year. You want somebody like Cena, you want somebody like Ziggler, like you suggested, a guy that basically is in there every single night, so they're not rusty, and they can just go like, oh, you want to do this into this? Sure, let's change, an F5 into a belly-to-belly suplex or something, and it's just simple because they've done it for the 360-odd days a year they work, so for them it's just natural. For Taker, coming out for 1 match a year, it's rusty as hell. He probably isn't in the best shape of his life to begin with, and then to have a concussion, and then to have the rest of the match with Lesnar and break the streak, it's kind of like a, watching your stream of WrestleMania. I mean, I was watching WrestleMania. I had your stream in the background. When you were doing your thoughts, and I remember your thoughts were basically like, when Taker's streak were broken, you weren't super surprised, but also in the same way you were kind of like, well, there you go. And I think your reaction was like, what do they do with Lesnar next?
Well, I think the question was, it didn't seem likely that Brock Lesnar would break the streak, but how many more of these does Undertaker have left in him? That was always the question, and I guess like the biggest difference was for the WWE. Do you do something like, what were we supposed to know that the streak was going to end? Which is kind of antithetical to all of wrestling, right? The unpredictability of booking. So it's like, if he were to face the next big thing, right? No pun intended, since Brock Lesnar was the quote-unquote next big thing. Like Roman Reigns or someone like that obviously the company really wanted to put over, you have a sense that this was going to happen, and with Lesnar, it was like, well, I mean, then it just means that backstage that mean Mark Calloway said, I don't know how many more of these I have, because at this point, if he all right, so he loses the streak, right? You get all the heat of him losing the streak. You basically make your monster heel. It brought Brock Lesnar into the unbeatable monster heel that you can now run for a year and a half on, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, it, in my mind, either puts Undertaker out, right? If he's gone, he's gone. He goes out on his back, counting the lights, like an old wrestler should, or it triggers the final match. It triggers the thank you Taker one final match with Brock Lesnar or somebody else. I would love to see Brock Lesnar, Undertaker Lesnar for the title. Undertaker wins the title, ends the tyranny of Brock, and then lays down the title, walks away, and that's it. That's the last we see of the Phenom.
But the only thing,
as
though,
as a good idea as that is.
It's a good idea, but I think Kieran may have gone there. Are you still there, Justin?
I'm here. Hello.
Hello. I think Kieran's gone. All right.
Well, here, let's go through some of the rest of the card, and then we can come back to this.
I was going to say, though, the thing is it's the tyranny and him coming back. I was going to say, but he shaved his hair when he said he could, the whole Triple H thing. I don't know what he's going to shave or do, if he's going to come back and beat Brock Lesnar. Like, what could he do? Like, oh, I'm gonna. I don't know what he could do. I don't know. He's
a dead man. What can he do? He's dead.
Right, I'm back.
I'm gonna ride down to the ring on my motorcycle again.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We buy it. We buy it from Undertaker. It doesn't matter how old that guy is. If the Undertaker comes down to the ring, we believe he can win because he is the dead man.
Clue as to who I like. My name's my Twitter handle.
I was gonna say something before my laptop decided to.
Yeah, you said you didn't agree with Justin's idea because, and then you died, which is actually quite ironic because yours always seems to die just about to the point where you're about to say something.
Right. Going back to my point, Undertaker has always seemed to me like one of these old school wrestlers to believe that you should go out on your back if it's your last match. He felt that way with everybody knows the story that he was actually prepared to beat up Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania if he refused to drop the belt to Shawn. Or to drop the belt to Austin. I don't think Undertaker will go out with a win in his last match, which is why I think that the streak was either going to be broken in Taker's last match, or if we are going to get the one last match, as much as people are going to hate me saying this, WrestleMania 31, Undertaker versus John Cena at WrestleMania.
I mean, that is really the only money match you've got left. I mean, Undertaker's the only one.
Logical money match left. The only logical one that can make any sense.
It's the only match. It's the only match at Undertaker that he hasn't faced someone big. I mean, he's done all members of Evolution. He's done Orton and he's done Brock. He's done Big Show, A-Train, Kane. He's done all of these. So Edge and all that as well. So the only other big money guy that's left is the Ultimate, and that's Cena. I mean, to put Cena in a ring with Undertaker, I mean, say the streak was still alive. Imagine Cena Undertaker. I mean, Cena Undertaker at a match is big. Cena Undertaker at a match at WrestleMania is big. Cena Undertaker at a match at WrestleMania streak would have been amazing, but still, Cena Undertaker at a match at WrestleMania, that really makes you think, well, this is Cena, so he could lose.
Well, I mean, also, like, how much do you want to put these two guys as faces together, though? And if you don't put them together as faces, do you have heel Cena? Do you have heel Undertaker in his final match? I don't think so.
We've already proven that Undertaker in a face match can work, i.e. Shawn Michaels. But Shawn was never actually the heel in that feud.
But here's
just the idea that you put two icons going up against each other, and Shawn basically saying this: "I've done everything in my career but one thing, and that's beat you at WrestleMania."
But the thing is, though, you can't really use Shawn and Triple H and Taker as perspectives because like, I mean, you can make a joke, but seriously, Taker could come out to the middle of the ring and kick a baby into the crowd. The crowd would still cheer him because he's the Undertaker and because he's been in the business for 20 or 30 or 40
Whereas
plus years.
Cena is always going to be the one guy who can come out to men booing him out of the building and women and children cheering.
I think the way, if you were to do a Cena Undertaker WrestleMania, you would book it like you're doing Cena and Lesnar here. Now, obviously, it's a bit different because obviously Lesnar is the heel when he's playing the whole, and obviously they're trying to play Lesnar as the guy that, who walks out on WWE and boo him. Cena's been here since day one, cheer for him kind of thing. But make it a bit, I don't want to say make it real because that's when you get into the whole, but do kind of, where Cena just comes out and goes, look, I've done everything. I've never faced Undertaker at WrestleMania. And I know.
How interesting is that match? I'm not interested by that match.
Yeah.
Say what you will about Cena, he can sell a match.
I think it will be a good match. Let me correct myself. I don't think it would be a bad match. I think he can put on an amazing match. It's why I loved. I mean, the feud he had with Bray Wyatt was amazing. And I would love to see him. He's a great in-ring performer. I just don't care unless there's something else around it.
No, I get your point. It's like you can have the most amazing build-up in the world, but if the finale doesn't pay off, then what's the point of doing the whole thing?
It's just one-dimensional. I don't quite understand where I'm supposed to hook in, and Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, for as much as they're kind of just two icons, they got a history, right? I mean, like, they wrestled the first Hell in a Cell. They've been, they've traded titles in the past. They've been in feuds in the past. You understand, you come in with a pre-written history that just isn't there for Cena and Taker.
Well, there's one thing that they could mention, but I don't think they will.
I mean, the only thing they can mention is that feud they had in 2000, that one match they had in 2003.
I'm thinking of something else entirely. What happened on Cena's first night in WWE?
Taker came up to him and basically said to him, look, I've got respect for you, or whatever it is, and then he done the same thing to Orlando Jordan a year later, and Cena basically got pissy pants.
Yeah, but that's the point. Who was the first guy who actually came up and gave, the big guy who came up and gave Cena props on his first night in WWE? It was Undertaker. So, if anybody's going to wrestle Taker in his last match, they should come out and say, no, I want it to be me. Because if there's any reason why I should face Taker in my last match, it's the fact that he pretty much said,
okay, but
X me.
But
here's, give him that match.
But here's the thing. You may remember that. I may remember that. Justin may remember that. But there's 85,000 people at WrestleMania that probably won't remember that, because you got to remember, in the WWE's mindset, if it happened 6 months ago, it didn't happen.
Oh yeah. Like,
why are we talking about John Cena this much? What kind of internet wrestling show is this? We're talking about John Cena this much. Fantasy booking John Cena, as if John Cena does not get enough main event publicity.
because we're the anti John Cena fans who are like, we don't mind John Cena's work, we just don't want him in this match.
Sure. All right. Well, here let's get to the rest of this card. Come on, this is actually a great card.
Oh, I'm super pumped.
I want to talk about. I want to mention something that I was going to mention to you earlier, James. Let's go with the second biggest, or possibly the second or third biggest feud on this card. Let's go with Dean Ambrose against Seth Rollins.
Well, hang on. Before that, obviously, we've got to do the predictions, obviously, because none of us actually gave the predictions of who we thought was going to win. It was just ideas of where we can go in the future. So for Cena and Lesnar, Justin, your pick?
This is a WWE event, right?
Well, for some, yeah. SummerSlam is
WWE. The WWE is the promotion that puts it on?
Yeah.
And John Cena's wrestling for the title?
Yeah.
Then I believe that John Cena will retain the title.
And obviously, we all know the standard rules, obviously, for prediction games. Winner chooses the loser's forfeit, wrestling theme, yada, yada, yada. Okay.
Paul, you don't need to explain it anymore.
Yeah, Paul has chosen Lesnar. Martin, I haven't got his response yet, but it'll be sometime.
Damn it, Martin.
It'll be sometime in the future. Kieran, Lesnar, Cena, who?
I've told you what my booking is until WrestleMania, haven't I?
I remember vaguely, yeah.
If my booking for WrestleMania is right, the man who will walk out as WWE Champion next Sunday is Brock Lesnar.
This is
Brock Lesnar, because we know what the main event for WrestleMania is going to be. It will be Brock Lesnar after a year of absolute freaking carnage and tearing everybody up in his path apart, being beaten by Roman Reigns.
This is tough for me because I mean I said this 10 or 15 minutes ago. I said this is the match that has really pushed me back and forth because it's like I can see Cena winning, I can see Lesnar winning, but like we said, with Lesnar, because he's got the whole contractual dates, are they going to have to extend his contract, or is there some kind of like clause that if he's champion he has to do more dates, possibly? But with Cena, he's the company guy, he's the guy that's been there. But I will say this, I'm basing my prediction on the fact they're building it so heavily based around that Extreme Rules match they had a couple of years ago, and the fact they keep mentioning Cena won, even though he was injured, and even though he had all this stuff, that Cena had won. I have the feeling, and this is my prediction, Lesnar is winning, so they're 1-1. They're going to do some kind of weird thing where Cena can't get a match at Night of Champions, and this is where they're going to go to Hell in a Cell, and they're going to go, right, 1-1, put them in a cell, in the ring together, no interference, who's the best? So I think, for me, it's going to be Lesnar. Now watch if Justin gets this right.
I mean, it is a WWE event, right?
Right.
It's the greatest champion of all time, Maggle.
So if we see a guy in a
Let's
SpaceX...
look at it this way. Cena hasn't got the best record at SummerSlam, has he?
No, he historically loses at SummerSlam. That is true. He does not do well at SummerSlam.
I mean, let's go through his SummerSlam history.
I can.
He wasn't there.
He beat Booker in 2004. He beat Jericho in 2005. Lost to Edge in 2006. Beat Orton in 2007. Lost to Batista in 2008. Lost to Orton in 2009.
So according to WWE.com, he has lost 5 of his last 6 matches at SummerSlam.
2012, 2011, 2009, 2008, 2006. And I guess
think John Cena has only retained the WWE title once at SummerSlam.
That was against Orton in 2007. Because all the other times he's either been in a triple threat where he lost, or
he was in another match entirely.
What match?
He lost to Punk and he lost to He's lost to Punk 2 years in a row, and he lost to Bryan last year.
Yeah.
Because Punk and the match 2 years ago was Punk versus Cena against Big Show.
Yeah, and then the year before they had that whole Alberto Del Rio, Kevin Nash thing, and that whole palaver. Yeah. So, yeah, we've got 2 for we've got 3 for Lesnar, 1 for Cena, and then obviously waiting for Martin and his responses. Let's go. I mean, you were bringing it up to begin with. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, made on Friday as a lumberjack match by Dean Ambrose because he won the Beat the Clock challenge, so he was able to basically stipulate his choice of match. I said this to Kieran just before you came on, Justin. This whole idea for a lumberjack match, this obviously means the feud isn't ending, it's continuing, and this is just the next part of their feud. Because I can't see a lumberjack match being the feud ender, bearing in mind these two have basically been ripping each other's skin off and they want to kill each other.
I guess what's interesting to me is who the lumberjacks are, right? I mean, is it just generic empty locker room, throw them back in? It's not like no, Rollins. Normally this the payoff to the one guy's running away from the other guy, gimmick, but it's not like Rollins has been running away from Ambrose. So
Rollins has been running away from Ambrose. The only reason he gets into the ring anywhere near Ambrose is when he knows he has the advantage.
The way they do lumberjack matches, obviously, 4-sided ring. So 2 of the sides are filled with heels, and then 2 of the sides are filled with faces. So that's basically how they do it. So they basically try and do it so that there's always a side that can.
I guess what's interesting is that normally, so you could have Seth Rollins, and maybe this is like the way to turn his advantage against him is at the Go Home Raw, Triple H comes out and says, well, you picked the lumberjack match, but you don't realize that I get to pick the lumberjacks, and all the people that want you want to keep your job, make sure that Ambrose loses, and Ambrose has to scrape out a win or something like that.
Well, no matter what, it's gonna be that's the way it should go. But at the same time, my theory I've always been a kind of guy who's understood the idea of a lumberjack match being that it stops people from escaping. And that's the whole point of this match. Dean Ambrose does not want Seth Rollins to get away.
But then my response to that would be, why not make it a cage match then?
Because cage
that might
matches
be where it
are
ends, right?
They need a feud that will actually make a lumberjack match mean something. I think the last time a lumberjack match meant anything was when John Cena faced Rene Dupree on a SmackDown.
Well, I mean, but to be
the
fair,
last meaningful lumberjack match ever.
I mean, this is going to be important and fun because Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose are so awesome and they wrestle really well together. Just go back and look at their FCW matches if you want to, get a preview of what we're in store for. They're amazing and they're gonna put on a great show. And I think it's gonna be that to me is your probably your biggest your best match of the night in my opinion.
I don't think it's going to be a match. I think it's going to be a fight. I honestly think like the two biggest matches we're talking about here with Lesnar and Cena and Ambrose and Rollins. Those two matches aren't matches. They're not wrestling matches. Those two matches are going to be fights. Like I honestly see them like not doing like headlocks and like Greco-Roman wrestling. They're literally just going to be punching the shit out of each other and being like, "No, you stay the fuck down."
Yeah.
Well, I have an idea for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's for the sake of argument say that this match goes the way we think it is. That Triple H buys the Lumberjacks and they make sure that Seth Rollins wins.
Right.
What happens if after the match, to continue on with the feud, Seth Rollins takes out Dean Ambrose? I'd say that, like, curb stomps him into the steel steps or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, listen to this. What if the main event, John Cena does win by disqualification? Brock Lesnar beats him down to the point where Cena cannot get up.
And then Seth Rollins.
Plan C is it? What happens if Plan C is
Plan
not that Brock
cash in.
Lesnar wins the title
Plan cash in.
and cashes
Well,
in?
that is the question, right? Is what happens with this Money in the Bank cash in? You know, like that is I assumed that at some point we might see the stipulation on one of these matches to be for the briefcase between
Originally, that's what people thought this was going to be. It was going to be Ambrose was going to force Rollins to put the briefcase on the line.
But bearing in mind, we've still got tomorrow night's Raw, which is the go home, so they could still do that. So,
yeah,
you know.
Well, that's my thinking because it stops Cena from being champion, which is what the Authority want in storyline. But it also clears up the idea that Lesnar has only limited dates. Lesnar can still walk out of this the absolute monster heel that he is. He's protected through a DQ loss.
Yeah.
And Rollins and Ambrose's feud now means something a lot more because it's going to be for the title.
All right, let's go picks then. I'm going to go. Do you know what? I'm going to say. Can you do no contest in lumberjack matches, or is it there has to be a winner?
Yes, you can, because there is still disqualifications in a lumberjack match.
No contest. Lumberjacks get involved because these two literally beat the holy hell out of each other. So the Lumberjacks have to get involved to break them apart for some whatever weird reason. Ends up being a no contest, and they end up having a return match at Night of Champions or Hell in a Cell, whenever. So for me, no contest.
I'm going with Rollins to win. Rollins should win this match because it's Ambrose's match. And then we get the blow-off match at Night of Champions where Ambrose finally gets revenge. Because that's how wrestling should work. Yeah,
I'm going to
he's
say
on top for so long, and then the face comes out on top at the end.
Cool. Justin?
Ambrose wins, and Rollins wins the war. It's a beatdown. It's an embarrassment after Ambrose sneaks out the victory. And then we continue to get it. I mean, to be fair, doesn't matter who wins, doesn't matter who loses. We just want to see these guys in the ring as much as possible.
Oh yeah.
Triple H versus Roman Reigns. I mean, Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns. This is put it this way, because Triple H is not involved in this match. It's so Roman Reigns. Like so Roman Reigns.
As I said, my plan for leading into WrestleMania has led to one is leading to one thing: Brock Lesnar against Roman Reigns for the title. Roman Reigns should not lose. Roman Reigns should not
here's my
be
prediction.
losing.
The winner of this match added at the Go Home Raw, Kane.
What, so three-way, or Reigns, Orton, and Kane?
I think Kane gets added to this match. I think that's what they've been setting up. It's, you know, maybe face Kane. You know, he's no longer the devil's favorite demon. Who knows what the hell they do with it? But he hates Randy Orton, and maybe this is a situation where you're able to kind of keep the feud going. You make Reigns like a superstar, but you don't give him the win.
If Kane
But it doesn't make sense in reality, considering the fact that let's assume that this is leading up to next month at Night of Champions, and we are going to get Triple H against Roman Reigns. That the only way Triple H is going to stop Roman Reigns is by beating him himself.
That's going to be a big cock block when you think about it. Triple H versus Roman Reigns, SummerSlam, the A show, everybody, you know, the biggest event of the summer. Now we're going to do it at Night of Champions, a B-level pay-per-view after SummerSlam. That's going to be a big cock block because you're thinking, oh, great, I'll get to face Triple H at a B-level pay-per-view. Yay.
Hey,
that must be what Triple H, that must be what CM Punk was thinking.
When do those 6 months WWE subscriptions wrap up? Right after SummerSlam. When do you want people to make sure they re-up their WWE subscriptions? Right after SummerSlam. This is not going to be a typical Night of the Champions. It's going to be a very, very, very big card.
I completely forgot about the whole subscribe to 6-month agreement. I forgot about that. That puts Night of Champions in a whole new level now. Very interesting. Kane
beats Orton. It's a triple threat match. Reigns doesn't lose. It's a interference with Triple H. Sets up Triple H, Roman Reigns at Night of the Champions, and Orton versus Kane at Night of the Champions.
So some real left picks here. Kane. Justin's going for my WrestleMania kind of idea, which is just to go wild early. Go wild. You might hit something.
James, how well does that work out for you?
I came last. I got 2
and
right.
Who ended up picking your song?
You did, I think.
Yep. Roman Reigns beats Randy Orton.
Right, let's go for the other big match, which everybody on the internet was going, oh, we can't have this being the main event because it's women. But personally, I think the last 2 weeks on Raw have been amazing as this being the finale. Brie Bella versus Stephanie McMahon. And Stephanie McMahon's return match for like 10 years, I think it is. This is her first match in like 10 years.
Nearly 10 years. The last match she had was against Vince at No Mercy in an Icon match.
I'm going to tell you this easily. Stephanie's winning.
I don't think so.
They need to. The way we've got it all so far essentially is the Authority are screwed in this event so far. So the Authority gets 1 win, and that comes from Steph.
I'm with you. Stephanie goes over with the help of the dastardly heel turn by Nikki Bella.
Ooh.
I said this, and if this happens tomorrow night, I will be quite happy. Let's say Daniel Bryan comes out tomorrow night on Raw to support his wife, Brie.
Yeah.
What happens then if we get, for example, Daniel Bryan saying that I will be in the corner of Brie at SummerSlam because Triple H is going to be in the corner of Stephanie? Interesting idea.
Yeah.
No?
I thought you were going to go for something just like really wacky or something, and like Daniel Bryan comes out at SummerSlam and goes, "I didn't need neck surgery after all. It was all a scam, and I'm part of the Authority." Woo!
Exactly.
I wouldn't call Daniel Bryan.
Choke out a criminal.
Yeah, that criminal that I beat up. Oh no, that was just a member of the Authority. We're making a prank, you know, and the news bought it. So yay for us.
Are you guys shocked they haven't brought that up on TV? Like, that seems like ready-made to bring that up on TV, that Daniel Bryan choked out a criminal who was trying to rob his house in real life. That's ready-made.
I'm surprised it didn't make giant heel heat or something out of Triple H by going, what, he needed neck surgery and he was able to beat up a guy who robbed his house. I find that very lying. You know, I think someone's lying here.
We always knew that Daniel Bryan was a B+ player.
Well, he did let the other criminal go. He only caught one of the two criminals. A very
A-plus player would have gotten both.
Yeah, I could see Triple H being a promo going, "Oh, you only caught one of them. I would have got both." All right, so Kieran, are you saying Bree then?
I'm saying Brie because we've already set. Because I've got in the big two matches the two heels coming out with wins.
Because you like a
So
nice
it makes
bit
sense
of
for me to
tease.
go with one face.
So let's go with probably the American patriotism match, where again I come out and say that if you're not in America right now, you're probably sitting there going, I don't care, but I want to watch it because I know it's going to be fun and entertaining to watch. Jack Swagger versus Rusev in the flag match, which from all records, I don't know how they're doing this, but I think it's the classic flag match, which is get up on top of the turnbuckle and get the flag and you win. I don't know if it's like you can pin and you get the flag afterwards.
Yeah.
I can see somebody, and I can see somebody using the flag as the way to pin somebody. Like they're on the ground, they just like stamp the flag into their chest or something.
I have another. I think that this match gets a special guest referee. Who is the
Dun 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 dun.
who's the special guest on this week's Raw?
Hulk Hogan.
He's a real American. Fight for the rights of
I
every
was
man.
Jimmy Hogan's theme. Come on. Maybe poorly, but
I thought you could go real left field here and just be like, and the special referee is Alberto Del Rio. He didn't get fired at all.
Oh, I know. Well, I'll tell you what. I would love to see the Iron Sheik.
yes.
Out of the other end.
I don't give a fuck about this match. I make you both humble.
I break ladder in half and make her humble.
Iran #1, Russia #1, USA. I like Rusev. Rusev's dominance continues. By the way, you talk about Roman Reigns being the next big guy. I think Rusev, Rusev is going to be up there in the main event echelon by the time that WrestleMania rolls back around. I think maybe not in this exact character, but they are grooming him to be a big player.
I'm not ashamed to say this, but I like Rusev. I just like Lana a little bit more.
No, she's great as a heel. By the way, these heels are carrying this feud. Zeb versus Lana is really what this is about.
It's just the fact that they have the two big muscle guys end up fighting their battles for them.
Exactly. So
Right.
it's easy how I'm going to do this. American-based pay-per-view, biggest show in America, in theory, for wrestling. Jack Swagger, surely.
Jack Swagger wins, and technically Rusev doesn't have a loss. Because he's not been pinned, he doesn't submit.
Yeah, they normally do this stuff, like if you lose in a gimmick match, then it technically doesn't count as a loss unless you beaten by pinfall or something.
Yeah.
So I take it you're going with Swagger as well?
My favorite feud leading up to this. AJ Page.
So by the way, I'll take it you're going
I'm loving this feud. I'm
I
loving
take
this feud.
I take it you're going with Swagger for the previous match then.
Me? No, Rusev.
Oh, Rusev, sorry, yeah. Sorry, my fault. Yes, AJ Page. Awesome.
I'm loving this feud. I am loving this feud because it makes the Divas mean something. For so long, the actual Divas title now actually means something.
Is this the not modern day, but is this the new Lisa Trish we have here?
I would like to think so. Lots of people will disagree with me, but I agree. I think this is like the next big women's feud in wrestling.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're both great, and I love this idea that they're both kind of crazy. Like, I like that it's not just, that AJ kind of leads with her character, who might be a little bit mentally unstable. Paige is getting into this kind of obsessive stalker sort of thing. I love it. I love it, Maggle.
I can see. I don't know. This is like real left field, but I can see this ending up being like a straight jacket match or something. Not this match, but like the feud turning up being like a straight jacket match, and someone ending up going to the men's place.
I've always wanted this feud to end with a submission match, like when Paige initially won the title, I always thought, right, it's going to set up for an Extreme Rules match with AJ and in a submission match because Paige broke the Black Widow, yada, yada, yada. And then CM Punk decided to steal AJ away for a few months. Bastard.
All right.
She's mine, Punk! She's mine!
Okay, so picks. We'll go Justin, pick AJ,
Paige.
Oh.
They're going to start title. Back and forth.
As much as I love Paige, I've got to go with AJ.
And I'm going for AJ as well.
Can I just say one thing? The segment where they have Paige actually push AJ off the stage was actually really well done. As silly as it seems, because it's like it's not that high a fall, and then she gets stretched out and everything like that, it's still a brilliant way to continue your feud.
Chris Jericho versus Bray Wyatt with Luke Harper and Eric Rowan banned from ringside. I've said this to Kieran, I think this is where they debut a new character for the Wyatt family because they're going to go with the whole idea of going, well, they're not banned from ringside.
They actually debut Sister Abigail?
Exactly, I think this is...
the idea of this Sister Abigail character... Who, actually, I'm going to have a look at the NXT roster here just to see who they could actually bring up.
Who says it has to be from the NXT roster? It could just be somebody they've just silently signed that no one knows about. I'm not, it could, or it could just be some. Either way, I say Bray Wyatt's winning.
Bray Wyatt is winning this match.
Bray Wyatt wins. The little, man, I'm packed with swerves here today, folks. I ain't got nothing but swerves. Here's the big swerve for you. The cheap mask, the big static comes out. All of a sudden, just like we've seen the last 3 weeks in a row, Bray Wyatt victorious over a fallen Chris Jericho with Harper and Rowan next to him after the match. But who do Harper and Rowan go after? It's Bray Wyatt. Chris Jericho, double turn. We now have Chris Jericho aligned with Harper and Rowan. Bray Wyatt finally gets the face turn that they desperately want to push on him, and now that's our big leading into Night of the Champions. We have like the Jericho Wyatt, best out of 3, the rubber match with Harper and Rowan on Jericho's side.
The idea of Jericho going back to like 2008 and when he was using sycophant and hypocrite and doing the whole suit and tie thing and just calling everybody hypocritical, sycophantic fans, I love that idea. I would love it,
but it's not good. Considering the fact that Jericho is apparently going to be done after Night of Champions, it makes sense to just have the one more match, and that's it.
So there's one more match left, which is obviously the most important match of the night because it's the last match we're talking about. Miz and Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. Miz is retaining because otherwise, what's the point of having a whole battle royal on a pay-per-view for the belt to lose it on the following pay-per-view?
Exactly. And if they are setting up for what I think they're setting up, which is a unification match between the IC and the US champions, Miz kind of has to retain.
Yeah.
So I would say I want Ziggler to get the last laugh.
Were you about to say you want AJ to get the last laugh? Because I was about to say if AJ got the last laugh in that match, that'd be different.
Yeah, I want Ziggler to get the last laugh in this by actually super kicking Miz in the face.
I mean, that is the finale of this whole Miz entire angle, isn't it? It's him getting like a broken nose or getting a bloody face, isn't it?
Yes. Very much so.
And then doing the Cody Rhodes bit where he wears a face mask. I agree with you guys. I have Miz going over. I would love to see Dolph Ziggler get it. I would love to see some sort of schmaz here because I want to see that Ziggler push keep going. Speaking of Cody Rhodes, though, let me ask you guys this. What the hell's going on with the tag team titles? They didn't give it to Harper and Rowan, which seemed like kind of the logical idea, right? Even just to continue a feud with them and the Usos. Mm-hmm. We don't have a tag team title match at SummerSlam, which seems a little bit weird.
Yeah, because apparently there's this whole... Apparently they want to do like a fatal 4-way tag match again.
Which, I mean, at that point, I guess, yeah, you have a fatal 4-way elimination match, maybe. You have Ryback, the Usos, the road dust,
Stardust.
sawdust. So and then what would be the fourth tag team?
Right. We've got
White Family.
no
White Family, Usos.
Usos right back. So
And Dust
Stardust,
Brothers.
the Dust Brothers, and completely out of left field here, Slatergator.
Dude, getting a push. He's a
Heath Slater and Titus O'Neil. Heath Slater and Titus O'Neil is the fourth team, and out of nowhere they win the tag titles.
All right. Also, speaking of people that I would love to see on SummerSlam, what about the new Black faction?
The new Black faction.
The new nature. I completely forgot about that.
No, sorry. From now on, that's what I'm calling them from now on. The new Black faction. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Kofi, Big E, Xavier Woods. We saw Mark Henry come out and re-debut last Monday to kick the crap out of Sandow.
Oh, how far has Sandow fallen from grace? Wasn't it last year he was facing Cody Rhodes on this show in the top mid-card feud?
No, last year he was singing Randy Orton's theme.
No, but he had the Money in the Bank title, or he had the Money in the Bank contract, didn't he?
Yes. By the way, Justin, think about that.
He faced Cody on that on SummerSlam. How much has he fallen from grace? What the hell did he do?
At the end of the
What the hell
day,
did he do to deserve this?
granted, but at the end of the day, I'd look at it. I mean, obviously, the whole point is you want to be at WrestleMania and be in the main event, granted. But at the end of the day, if he's probably making the amount of money that he's making and all he's doing, and he's basically doing funny skits where everybody's laughing, I'm not complaining. I wouldn't be complaining if I were Damien Sandow. I'd be like, what, you're paying me this much to do this? I'm all for it.
Hey, listen,
he's on TV every week.
All right, guys. I hate to be the party pooper, but I gotta get out of here. Also, I'm just watching this AJ getting pushed off the stage thing by Paige. Man, that looked good.
It did.
That looked fantastic.
It's just like completely out of nowhere. It's just like, and then there's just Paige sitting on the stage going, "Oh, she's fine. She's just playing. Be careful with my best friend."
Two final things. Two final things, Justin. Obviously, check the Google chat thing. I've sent you the link to this. It's a YouTube account called Raven Siram. It's a thing you should subscribe to because he not only comes up with awesome mashups, but some of the funny wrestling videos he comes up with are brilliant. He's done one of when the Shield broke up and they done the whole chair thing. That episode from The Simpsons where Bart does you can see how Ralph's heart breaks.
Yes, I saw. The stuff shows up on the Squared Circle Reddit all the time.
Yeah, that is from his. It's from this dude.
There's another one that I enjoy, and it's the segment from Ric Flair's promo back right before he retired. He goes, "And I will never retire," and it's Squidward from SpongeBob, just hearing it over and over again in his head during the night.
But obviously, the final thing, obviously, Justin, is where can people find you if they want to talk to you about wrestling or anything else?
If they want to talk to me about wrestling, you can go on over and find me on Twitter, Justin R. Young on Twitter. And, I'm hopefully more wrestling programming from me in the future. I think I'm the Brock Lesnar of live wrestling commentary. I only show up for WrestleMania and SummerSlam, so I'm going to do a live stream for this SummerSlam. And maybe a new wrestling podcast. Details forthcoming.
I know I said another two things quickly. If I'm not at work Sunday, I'll definitely be watching SummerSlam live, so I don't know if you want to do like a joint venture or something. That'll be interesting. Me at 1 a.m. going, haha, that thing happened. But also, you said about obviously the thing on Tuesday about the wrestling podcast. I'm all in if you want anybody to help out or, do anything. I'm all in to give you a hand on that.
Absolutely. No, thank you very much. And if I do the ECW one, which I think what I'm going to do, then I will definitely have a co-host on each episode, and we'll figure it out. And you are on that short list. So thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Enjoy SummerSlam, and thanks again, Justin, for being on here. And I will leave you with the final words.
$9.99. What a bargain, Maggle. Bye.
Oh, fantastic. So let's let's riff for another 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Kieran, obviously, this is the first time you've actually met and spoke with Justin. So tell you what, that dude's awesome. He's awesome.
I like him. I like him a lot.
So
He believes. He believes. He believes, Michael.
let me just check Facebook quickly to make sure that I haven't got anything from.
You're gonna check face. No, I've checked Facebook. We got through every match.
No. It's just to see if I haven't got anything from Martin yet. I haven't got anything. No, it's just them talking about the draft. Yeah. Basically, also, by the way, we can give you an update on the draft. The Monster Madness Radio Summer Draft. The winner has essentially been finalised. It's Martin. Martin has won. There is one more film left, which is my last film, which is Expendables, because I had what did I have?
You got shafted so fucking badly.
I'm trying to remember what film I had. I had one. I can't remember what it is, but there was one film earlier this year that got canned until next year. So obviously I was allowed to choose a replacement. I chose Expendables. So as long as Expendables makes 60 million domestic,
I think it was didn't you have Sin City?
No, it wasn't Sin City.
No, Jupiter Ascending. That's what you had.
That's it. I had Jupiter Ascending. Yeah, that got pushed back to 2015, so I chose Expendables instead. So as long as Expendables makes 60 million domestic, I will secure third place.
Which it should do, because it's Expendables.
The last Expendables film, Expendables 2, done about 80 million in US, so I'm hoping, normally you get sequel bumps, so I'm hoping it might push 95, maybe 100 if I'm lucky. If it pushes 60, I've got third sorted. If it pushes any more, then it's just extra money.
Well, I know I've got second place, which
you've got second sorted.
Ed, if you end up watching this, screw you, motherfucker!
Unless Expendables can make 400 million in the space of a month, you've got second sorted.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the draft. Yeah, so let's just go through the final predictions that everybody's chosen. Obviously, I'm waiting for Martin. I'll get Martin. Martin will be on the same thing as obviously us. You know, he'll just get the 8 matches. If another match gets announced before he sends me his predictions, it won't count. So I have chosen The Miz, Bray Wyatt, AJ, Jack Swagger, Roman Reigns, no contest for the Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins match, Stephanie McMahon, Brock Lesnar. Kieran, you have chosen Miz, Bray Wyatt, AJ, Swagger, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Brie, Bella, and Brock Lesnar. Paul has chosen Miz, Bray Wyatt, AJ, Swagger, Orton, Ambrose, Brie, Lesnar. And Justin has picked Miz, Wyatt, Paige, Rusev, Kane, Ambrose, Steph, Cena. So we've actually got, let's have a look. 1, 2, 3. Do you know what's interesting here?
What?
We have got 6 of the 8 matches are ones that can be contested. The only 2 that we've all picked the same one on are Miz and Bray Wyatt. Which, for me...
It's going to be interesting come next Monday, isn't it?
But for me, do you know what that says to me? That means that this SummerSlam build-up has been very well done then, because normally you can essentially pick a winner from a couple of weeks ago, or you can kind of see where the storyline is going. The fact that 6 of the matches here can be contested, that says a lot, surely, that they've done a really good job building up. Now, obviously, you want to get it so that you go into any match thinking anybody could win, but I mean, I think we've all got it in our mind that Lesnar probably will win. It's the contractual things outside WWE that is affecting our choice, not what's happening in the ring. And I think that's.
Well, as I said to you, you and Justin, you can imagine Seth Rollins leaving SummerSlam as the champion.
I can. It's a long shot, but I can.
It's a long shot, but it could happen.
But then again, it's not. It's not.
Probably not.
It's not as long shot as Kane being added into. I'll tell you what. If Kane does get added into the triple threat match, I think Justin should get. I honestly think Justin should get bonus points because I never even thought in my wildest dreams Kane would appear at SummerSlam.
Unless he's going to appear as the babysitter for Orton again.
I think they're going to have to, or they're going to have to do something because obviously his film See No Evil 2 comes out in the middle of October, which is what, 2 months away now.
He hand over the mask on Raw on Monday, so maybe that's him away for the next 2 weeks, and then he comes back after SummerSlam.
Yeah, because he can't wear the mask in theory because the character of Jacob Goodnight doesn't wear a mask. So maybe they're just doing that. That's what they're doing. They're just getting rid of the mask because they can promote the film. Which, by the way, obviously, you know, Kieran knows my loves for really crappy movies.
Yeah.
See No Evil isn't a good movie by any lengths of the means, but that's the reason why it's so entertaining to watch is because it isn't good. So I'm really looking forward to See No Evil 2, and I don't know if you have you heard what the plot is for See No Evil 2?
It's set on the same night as See No Evil, isn't it? And he's running around the hospital killing people.
Let me find. No. Let me find it. This is the plot line for See No Evil 2.
Well, you look at that. I'm not sure if you were aware, but we had the finals of the G1 Climax this morning.
All right.
Right. Here are the results from the show. Obviously, this is the brackets for the G1 Climax are gone. They're finished. We had one half of the NWA World Tag Champs. I'll ignore the opening matches.
Is this the? I saw a picture early this afternoon. Is this the whole Jeff Jarrett event?
Jarrett showed up and has signed an official partnership between Global Force Wrestling and New Japan.
Hasn't he? And I mean, can we spoil what happened at the end of the event? Because I've seen the picture of it.
I haven't seen that just yet.
Right. Okay.
But here's the results that I actually care about. Team Ring of Honor, which is Adam Cole and Michael Bennett, defeated Jushin Liger and Captain New Japan. Time Splinters retained the tag team titles against Red Dragon in what is meant to be a brilliant match, so I'll try and work that out. Jarrett and New Japan signed the deal. In a special third place G1 Climax match, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion AJ Styles, with the Bullet Club in his corner, and you'll like this, lost to Tanahashi. I know how much you like Tanahashi.
But the idea of, I've got to see this match, the idea of Tanahashi versus AJ Styles is very mouth-watering. I bet you that match was insane.
And this is what happened. Bullet Club had hit the ring and attacked Tanahashi. Beat down Tanahashi before Jeff Jarrett and Scott D'Amore came out and cleared the ring. They opened up a guitar case. The guitar had Bullet Club written on it, and it got smashed over Tanahashi's head. So,
Tanahashi versus Bullet Club. The idea of, oh my god, the idea of a Wrestle Kingdom show with Tanahashi versus AJ for the belt. That would actually, I'm semi erect right now thinking about that.
Jeff Jarrett, one of them historically the single biggest rivals of AJ Styles, is now part of the Bullet Club.
Oh.
And in the main event,
see, for me, that is the main event. Japan, you have just sold me.
This was the main event. The G1 Climax Finals. Kazuchika Okada against Suzuki Nakamura.
Oh my god.
The winner of the 2014 G1 Climax. The Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. Which means Okada is going to get a rematch against AJ for the title.
Could you imagine? January 4th, 2015. This is like the ultimate splooge match for me right now in Japan. AJ Styles, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Kazuchika Okada in a three-way.
That would be an amazing match.
Oh my god. Oh.
James, do you have to go and change your trousers now?
I'm actually wearing shorts. Oh my god.
Do you have to go and change them?
when is this DVD coming out? When is it? Because I know it was it iPay-per-view or is
The
this?
G1, this final G1 Climax show.
Yeah.
It's on Ustream right now.
How much? How much?
Hang on.
How much? If there's a repeat of this, I'm getting this. Hang on. Ustream G1 Climax.
Ustream.tv/NGPW.
NJPW sub. Buddy Fight presents G1 Climax 24 daily ticket. Right. $25.
Which means you can get all of them. Which means you get all of it.
$25. How much is it? 14 quid. 14 quid for an NJPW event which lasts normally 4 hours long. Oh my god.
Or you could buy all of them for $160.
Video on demand, G1 Climax. Oh, all of the G1 Climaxes on there, the final. Oh my god. Or do I wait and get the entire lot on DVD? That might be the better option, to wait and get it on DVD. But the idea of that G1 final and everything that happened there. Oh my god.
James, you're about to cream yourself, aren't you?
But it's the idea of AJ and Hiroshi Tanahashi. That is like a dream match for me because I mean, you know, my love for Hiroshi Tanahashi. I think he's one of the greatest wrestlers ever in Japan, ever. He is so good.
Mhm.
I found the plot details for See No Evil 2. This is written by Lionsgate, so you know this is potentially what the plot is. A group of friends pays a late night visit to the city morgue to surprise Amy, played by Danielle Harris, I think it is, on her birthday. But the surprise is on them when the one-eyed corpse of brutal psychopath Jacob Goodnight unexpectedly rises from a cold sub-basement slab. Their wild party quickly turns into a terrifying slayfest as the sadistic mass murderer resumes his savage rampage, complete with hooks, surgical knives, and power saws. Here's the thing. I love the idea of this premise for a storyline just for the simple fact of how 80s cheesy it is. A group of friends pays a late night visit to the city morgue to surprise somebody on their birthday. Who thinks going to the city morgue is a great birthday surprise?
Considering the fact that she works at the morgue according to the trailer.
But it's still weird when you think about it.
She's on night shift. So
yeah.
Just roll with it.
I mean, like I said, obviously, I love 80s horror, like 80s slash, anything like 80s slasher movies or horror movies. They're all funny. Any B movies because they're always incredibly cheesy. Have I ever told you about the sinking of Japan?
No.
They released a film when they were doing all these whole like end of the world type films. They were doing one called The Sinking of Japan, where basically they had this. I can't remember exactly what the thing is. I don't know if it was meteors or if it was the water levels rising for whatever it was. But like the water levels rise essentially, and Japan sunk. The entire island just sunk into the water, and that was kind of the premise of the film. Well, Japan fought back with their own version of the film called Everybody Sinks But Japan, which has basically all of these celebrities fly into Japan, and because they're just trying to fit in, it's people like a fake Arnold Schwarzenegger being a waiter, and like John Travolta or something being a taxi driver. Like, this is kind of levels of cheesy films I've watched. There was one called I think it's called Solar Flare or Solar Eclipse or something. It was on one of the old sci-fi channels, where basically the problem was the water levels were rising or whatever it was, and these.
Mate, I'm gonna have to go.
All right. All right.
I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Yeah, no, you speak to me tomorrow, definitely. All right. We'll wrap this up then. Thanks for listening to this then, Kieran. Listening to this being on it, you never know. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Thanks for listening to this, guys, and we shall see you tomorrow. Kieran, you get the last words?
Boop, boopity, boop, boop, boop.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.